Friends, I feel happy to welcome to my talk show. Today, I want to give you a talk on reforms in higher education, a case for establishing National Examination Authority. The present central government, since its first term being voted in 2014 to the power, started implementing reforms in school and higher education. These got further momentum since the declaration of National Education Policy in 2020. In the higher education sector, reforms included the revision of minimum standards for awarding degrees, recruitment of faculty, curriculum designs and credit framework, mode of learning, twinning programs, dual degrees, binary accreditation system, and internationalization of higher education. Efforts towards designing the systems and processes are also on the anvil, encompassing the institution of academic bank of credits, digital valuation, online content delivery, and evaluation. Friends, in this changing scenario, it is recommended to the central government to set up an apex body in the name and style of National Examination Authority to conduct examination and evaluation at the level of undergraduation and post-graduation. This arrangement is proposed to ensure uniformity in the procedures followed in testing the knowledge of the students. In addition, the universities, autonomous colleges, and affiliating colleges are relieved of the burden from conducting examinations. The aim is to address the issues that are cropping up in the existing practices followed by the higher educational institutions in India. Time and again, there are complaints and uproar in the examination patterns followed by many institutions, prompting the involvement of an independent agency like the National Education Examination Authority in the matter. Leakage of question papers, erratic valuations, tampering of the results are often reported in the press at one place or the other. The students often complain about the inordinate delay in the publication of results by the universities. It is believed that the proposed reform would address the above issues and ensure efficiency in the system. It would also emerge as a step towards implementing digitization in the education sector. The introduction of the proposed system presupposes certain actions at the level of the governments, both central and state governments, regulatory and academic standard setting bodies, and the participating higher educational institutions. In this context, I wish to list out some of the areas that need attention of the central and state governments. In this context, the first is the standard setting bodies and circulating curriculum designs and implementing authorities should take necessary measures to ensure uniformity in the curriculum and syllabi. To pave the way for national level examination for both undergraduation and post-graduation programs. The regulatory and standard setting bodies, which included University Grants Commission, AICTE, NCTE, PCI, COE, have designed and issued national level curriculum frameworks for general education, technical education, vocational education, and open and distance education. The guidelines for fixing and awarding credits is also done in the name of National Credit Framework and released on October 19, 2022. This National Credit Framework is designed to create a unified credit system across school education, higher education, and vocational training. All the above bodies have also taken measures to develop model syllabi based on the National Credit Framework and advised the higher educational institutions in India to follow. Universities and colleges, being autonomous, are required to adopt the same with or without modifications. In the existing practice, many higher educational institutions are adopting the same with minimum changes and tailoring their programs accordingly. In the light of the prevailing situation, it should not be a difficult proposition to the universities and the autonomous colleges to bring the uniformity in the curriculum. The one question that is often asked in this context is whether there should be uniformity in the curriculum, syllabi, and programs in higher education, spanning the scope for ingenuity expected at this level. In reality, there is little variation in the curricula offered by diverse higher educational institutions across the country, at least at the undergraduate level. Respecting the autonomy of the universities and the scope for imaginative models, Postgraduate courses may be allowed to be run in the present mode, and the undergraduate programs may be brought under the framework of one nation, one syllabus. Secondly, in the field of education, the authority and presence of the state governments is paramount. Unless there is cooperation from the states, reforms of this measure will not be successful. The opposition for the implementation of the National Education Policy 2020 by some states is already known. In addition to the consent required from the state governments, the state level bodies like state councils of higher education departments, and universities must be roped in to the framework to ensure smooth and effective implementation of this scheme. Further, the state governments are also required to agree for the setting up of regional offices of the National Examination Authority in their states by way of allotting land and granting of other necessary permissions. These players are also required to help publicize the reform and take the stakeholders into confidence. Thirdly, the academic schedules of the higher educational institutions in respect of opening and closing dates for admission, instruction, internship, project work, etc. all need to be made uniform in this context. Otherwise, it should be difficult to announce a national calendar of examinations. At the national level, regulatory bodies are from time to time advising the higher educational institutions of the country to adhere to the common calendar of events. The UGC's advisory is known to all the higher educational institutions in this regard. The Supreme Court of India also had to pay attention on this subject due to extraordinary circumstances created due to the COVID-19 pandemic and permitted AICTE to revise its academic calendar. In the previous academic year 24-25, the Supreme Court permitted AICTE to extend admissions deadline to October 23, 2024. Usually, University Grants Commission insists that there should be 180 minimum instructional days in a year to enable the teacher to complete the syllabus properly to the benefit of the students. This norm is followed by the higher education institutions across the country without much deviation. Fourthly, universities and colleges, being the implementing agencies, are required to gear up their infrastructure and other facilities for the setting up of this national level examination system, which requires a suitable infrastructure and digital support in terms of computer systems, workstations, internet bandwidth, and good connectivity. Usually, these exams could be conducted on a proctored model requiring CCTV surveillance and being connected to regional or national level portal. With these precautionary prerequisites, the central government may appoint a technical committee to design the suitable organization structure and computer architecture. Regarding the organization structure, the author has the opinion that the National Examination Authority should have at least 3 major wings to deal with the question paper setting, conduct of examinations, and evaluation and publication of results. Each wing is required to be staffed with experienced staff having capability to handle the issues at the national level. The wing to deal with the conduct of examinations should fix up suitable examination centers basing on the location and a number of examinees and appoint invigilating staff and ensure smooth conduct. The third wing is to decide on the suitable computer capacity to evaluate and process the results. It is in this context a decision needs to be taken as to the manual intervention in the evaluation process. This decision would impact the facilities to be created at the examination and evaluation centers. Above all, the most crucial aspect in the entire process is the codification of the operations and procedures intended to be adopted at each level in the form of a manual in order to avoid the legal issues at the later stages. In this process, consultations with the stakeholders would also refine the scheme and enlist support from them. At the end, it is believed that the setting up of National Examination Authority would ensure uniformity in the curriculum, examination, and evaluation for the benefit of the student community, besides ensuring uniform implementation of academic calendars and quality standards. Further, the establishment of National Examination Authority is also expected to pave the way for implementation of another reform which is closely related to this, which came up for discussion during 2018 with the appointment of a committee under the chairmanship of Professor M.M. Salanke to examine the methods of examination and evaluation, keeping in view of the learning outcomes expected to be in place by the students. One of the interesting and innovative recommended by the committee pertains to the introduction of a system of on-demand examination. This is also called examination on demand. The committee then felt that it was time to initiate steps to facilitate this reform. It is also suggested to apply this model on a select basis to the popular degree programs like BA, BCom, and BSc. The advancements in the technology and further reforms introduced later to the recommendations of the committee prompt the establishment of National Examination Authority more imminent and necessary. In this context, I wish to suggest and also expect the listeners to think that how about establishing a National Examination Authority for the benefit of the student community across the country. I also request you to forward your comments on this talk show. Thank you very much.